Okay.
He said you're recording.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So just start.
Do you want to do a check on sound check?
action.
Sound check. Are mics good?
Checking sound. Did you say you're checking sound? All right. So whenever you're ready, Azalee.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Your big moment.
So thank you for joining us, Dr. Jamore. I understand you have a background in political science and elections.
Yes, I do.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, this is my 14th year at UNLV. I'm an associate professor over in the Department of Political Science. My main emphasis is campaigns and elections as well as public policy. In addition, I am a non-resident fellow at the Brookings Institution, and I am a senior analyst for Latino Decisions, which is a public firm that focuses in public opinion of Latino voters.
Okay. So I mainly want to talk to you about the lieutenant governor's race.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that position does?
The position doesn't really do much of anything. You basically preside over the Senate when the Nevada legislature is in session, which will be in the winter. Historically, it had a bigger role in economic development, but back in 2011, they reorganized economic development and consolidated most of that authority in the governor's office. So the lieutenant governor on a day-to-day basis doesn't do much. What makes the lieutenant governor's race so important this time around is there's a lot of speculation that in 2016, Governor Sandoval, he'll cruise to re-election next week because he faces token Democratic opposition, that he may either run for the U.S. Senate against Harry Reid or be looked as someone who could be potentially get a cabinet position or potentially even a vice presidency slot on the 2016 Republican ticket.
And do you see that happening?
I think he's less likely to run against Harry Reid just because that'll be a very, very difficult fight. In 2016, it'll be a much better electoral year for the Democrats than 2014 is. But I think he's opening a lot of eyes nationally for Republicans because he's doing well in a Democratic-leaning state. He's been able to implement some policies, both in terms of education, some changes in ELL funding last session around. There's also going to be a big change in how they do funding in 2015, so be able to claim credit for that. And of course, the economic development that's occurred under his watch, most notably the Tesla deal, has put Nevada on the map as well. So I think he's opened up the eyes of a lot of Republicans nationally. And of course, being from a western state where they traditionally done well but have struggled these last decade or so, I think it makes him very appealing.
And then, I was going to say, so if Governor Sandoval is elected our governor, and then he does move on to a higher position, what would that mean for the lieutenant governor?
Well, the lieutenant governor would automatically ascend to the governorship, and that is why Governor Sandoval picked Mark Hutchinson so early in the cycle. He put all of his resources behind Hutchinson because he wanted to make sure that there was a Republican lieutenant governor. So if he does move on in 2016, that would ensure the office would at least stay with his party. And so in that case, if Hutchinson were to ascend to the governorship in 2016, he's the likely winner next week over Lucy Flores, the Democratic candidate. And that would give him a leg up running in the 2018 cycle.
Why do you think he's the?
It's going to be a good Republican year. He's been able to raise and outspend Lucy Flores dramatically there. Republicans have also done a very good job, much better than they've done in past election cycles, in getting out the early vote. Traditionally, the Democrats win the early vote, but we're seeing day in and day out of early voting, the Republicans are expanding their lead. And for Democrats, there's just not a lot of enthusiasm. The fact that they didn't have a Democratic gubernatorial candidate doesn't give the party someone to rally around. It's very difficult to rally around a lieutenant governor candidate when no one really knows what that job is. And so the expectation is that Hutchinson should win pretty comfortably next week.
Okay, so you think that people maybe should pay more attention to who's taking over that position?
Obviously, yeah. I mean, we haven't haven't had that happen for a while. Bob Miller was the last lieutenant governor to ascend to the governorship when Richard Bryan ran and won for the U.S. Senate. And that ended up being, Bob Miller ended up being a governor for 10 years, as it turned out, because he finished Richard Bryan's term and then won 2 terms on his own. So there is a potential you could have a governor for 10 years, which has happened once in the state's history.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
That's all.